Hey everybody, it's Gary Lucas. It is the witching hour. Well, not quite. It's 8 p.m. here in Maastricht, Holland, and it's 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, at least for another 12 hours or so before the clocks go back. Should be 7 p.m. in the UK, and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I'm back from an excellent taping. Well, last night we went live. I did two events at this great So What's Next festival in Eindhoven at the Muziekgebouw. We taped on Thursday the Spanish Dracula live soundtrack, me accompanying this fantastic 1931 horror film, and that will be available to watch at 10 p.m. tonight in Holland, which would be, let's see now, 9 p.m. in the UK, and 5 p.m. in New York and along the Eastern Seaboard, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's at a website for the festival. I'll post it when I'm done with this little broadcast today. But I'm so happy to be here in the Netherlands. It's really just been a tonic for me, having been cooped up in New York for 7 months. And there, but for the grace of the Dutch immigration authorities, the festival organizers, Frank Veenstra and Marika Meeschke, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Marika, and KLM, who allowed me to board my flight 10 days ago. I'm here, and I'm working with great Dutch acoustic bass player Peter Willems, who is an award winner, who came all the way to see me from Maastricht, where he lives, about a year ago when I played at Nick Voldebrecht Jazz Club in Laarden. I have a whole long, complicated history with the Netherlands. I love to play it. It is the first country that really got what I do and took to my music in a big way. And I probably spent more time here than any other country that I've toured in the world. But anyway, I'll just get down to playing a little bit. I'm going to try and skew this so it's a little bit more on the dark side. But anyway, there always is that element to my playing, is it not so? So. Yeah, that's the theme from one of my favorite fantasy science fiction films, The Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe. That's a George Pal directed film, one of the greats in the history of fantastic cinema. You may know The Time Machine with Rod Taylor and many other great classic 60s films. And it starred Tony Randall, Mr. Odd Couple himself. He does a yeoman service in this film. He portrays 7 different characters, including the abominable snowman and various mythological creatures, as well as a kindly old Chinese fellow, Dr. Lowe. And if you're really interested, check out the novella by Charles G. Finney, who's a great, fairly unknown American fantasy writer in the tradition of guys like Ambrose Bierce, who you probably know from An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. So Finney wrote this in the 20s, and it's quite a very lively concoction of American tall tales and some political satire thrown in, and it's just really great fun. So, and get a chance to see this film, because the theme that I just played is by the great Lee Harline, who you may know from Walt Disney's Pinocchio. He wrote When You Wish Upon a Star. And Dr. Lowe, actually, I can see antecedents in some other people's work, which I won't go into. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I have very pronounced pattern recognition ability, which inhibits me from actually enjoying a lot of music these days, because it always reminds me of something else. I was trying to explain. I did an interview last night with a very nice young woman named Shai at the conclusion of my set with Peter Willems in the Eindhoven Musikgebouw, and she was asking me my thoughts on popular music and jazz and the confluence of each stream there. And it's this kind of pattern recognition skills that do me in every time, because so much of what I hear in the nature of supposed new music these days just sounds like so many other derivations. But they've just carbon copied the original to such a degree that it's almost illegible at this point, so that some new kind of form appears in the mist. But I don't know, it doesn't really often do it for me. I prefer to hear originals often rather than covers, but I do a lot of covers too, so who am I to complain here? And speaking of which, let's see. Oh. I'll do a little bit of the Golem music. I've done this before now. This is a project, it was my first live film score I got with my childhood friend Walter Horn, who's a great keyboardist, composer, and great guy. And we have a history of going back for playing Halloweens and trying to frighten trick-or-treaters. We'd make these tapes of electronic sounds. He had a really good deck, and we rigged it up to be able to overdub and reverse the flow of the music to get backwards loops going. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so Walter and I, when I got a commission in '89 to score, actually it was to do something with another art form, but I chose scoring a film. It just seemed a natural, and the Golem popped into my mind. I mean, many of us out there, I guess if you're my age, were very much warped by the appearance of a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland. So I think the first issue stems to the late 50s, if I'm not mistaken, maybe early 60s. I guess I discovered it about 61, 62. And people like Tim Burton, for instance, a lot of people working currently in horror genre, I mean older guys probably, loved this magazine so much because it afforded us a first-class education in the history of fantastic cinema. It was run by former science fiction agent, actually literary agent, maybe he was still doing it at that time, a guy named Forrest J. Ackerman. And it created a mythos around these old films that were just sort of re-emerging on TV in packages for like Chiller Theater type anthology series. In Syracuse, New York, where I'm from, we had a thing called Monster Movie Matinee every Saturday at 1, starring Dr. E. Nick Whitty. I should post some of this. They're really cleverly done, and we love them. And then there was another horror host, a guy whose real name was Mike Price, and he became a character, Baron Daemon, Daemon, like Victimone, come to think of it. No, but it was Baron Daemon, and he was sort of a Dracula spin-off. And so every Friday, I think it was at 11:30 or midnight, they'd show a fairly terrible, obscure 50s horror film, sometimes earlier. And he would pop in and out doing little bits of business that were very cleverly done with the chroma key and other technologies available, where you could superimpose himself into the film or seem to be entering the film. And actually, it's a gloss on the great Zacherle, who more or less pioneered this genre, although there are various regional horror hosts of note out there, including a guy named Ghoulardi. And if you know the work of the director Paul Thomas Anderson, who is one of my favorite film directors, the guy who did Magnolia and The Master, many other great horror films, he's the son of Ghoulardi, whose name will escape me for a while. But Ghoulardi was really popular in Cleveland area. And I had relatives in Cleveland, so I heard all about these characters. And somebody really should do a documentary about all the various late 50s, early 60s horror hosts. It extends all the way up to people like Elvira, of course, but let us not forget the originator, Maila Nurmi, the star of Plan 9 of Outer Space, well, along with Tor Johnson, otherwise known as Vampira. There are documentaries that you could see on YouTube about Vampira. And she famously dated James Dean and was part of this bohemian Hollywood set, which numbered folks like John Gilmore, who wrote some amazing memoirs of bohemian Hollywood back in the day, whose father cracked the Black Dahlia case, who was one of the detectives on this grisly, shocking, real-life atrocity murder that terrorized Hollywood back in the day, well before Charles Manson. John Gilmore was actually maybe romantically linked with James Dean. I digress, but he claimed that in a few books, and who am I to deny his moment in the sun? He's dead now. But James Dean, of course, lives on, and James Dean dated Maila Nurmi, a.k.a. Vampira, who famously had I think it was a 12 or 13-inch wasp waist. She had an hourglass figure, and did all sorts of exercises to kind of constrict herself and further narrow her waistline for her appearances on TV. But check them out, because she was the direct antecedent of Charles Addams' Morticia comic, Vampiress, that illuminated the pages of the New Yorker magazine. And she's also the forerunner of the later series, The Addams Family, which had Carolyn Jones essaying the role. But Vampira is the shizzle, as they say. And anyway, it was a great era, was it not, of all sorts of like Halloween obsessed people. Now we have QAnon to think about as the latest, kind of craze in a very sick and twisted way. And was just explaining to somebody here about how this is like taken hold in a meme-like way of otherwise well-meaning people, including many Republicans running for office. Be afraid, be very afraid, because that's the real life horror in this particular period. Okay, but I don't want to dwell too much on the horrible here, so let's do some beautiful. I'll tell you what. One of my favorite guitarists, as you probably know, is John Fahey, the great master of six-string Americana blues. And I could go on all day about John Fahey, but he was also in on the rediscovery of people like Skip James he went down there with people like Al Wilson, Blind Al from Canned Heat, and other people who were very much part of the early blues revival in the U.S. But he pioneered what he called American primitive guitar, which are beautiful compositions for finger-picked steel string acoustic guitar. And some of it, I guess, derived a bit from people like Elizabeth Cotten and Mississippi John Hurt in the finger-picking department and Skip James. But a lot of it dreamed up by Fahey himself, and definitely a major guitar innovator. All right, so... That's a little bit of John Fahey, Dance of Death, and other Plantation favorites, a little bit of Spanish Dracula music, and that's to warm me up because in about an hour and a half, they're going to broadcast on the website of the So What's Next Festival in the Netherlands the incredible 1931 legendary Spanish language Dracula, directed by George Melford, filmed on the very set at night while they were working on the Bela Lugosi Dracula during the day, with an all-Latin cast, and music courtesy of me, except for a little bit of Swan Lake at the top. And then at the end, there's some music. And anyway, please check it out. I'd love to play for you. I think I'm just about out of time here, though. And, well, I'll be back. Today is Saturday. I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm here in the Netherlands till November 11th working on this record with Peter Willems. We've nailed 5 tracks already in Eindhoven. They sound incredible. Can't wait for you to hear them. And, okay, be well, be safe tonight. You know, I just heard from Caroline, like she was walking home after midnight last night. It was kind of dodgy in the West Village with all sorts of characters lurking out there. I don't want to sound like Trump and tell you it's a ghost town or anything. No, New York is a wonderful place by and large, but this is a fraught time, is it not? So be safe, wear the mask, and especially on Halloween, man, be wary, be on guard. But, you know, if you have like candy or treats and everything, just don't give them any poison apples. All right, so nice to see you. Love to you guys, and I'll talk to you and see you really soon next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, all right? Big hugs, bye.